I've got a confession. I have built a hyper-organized workshop, but this is my home office. It is driving me crazy, and I have got to fix it. So I've got to get organized, get things off of the ground, and I want to make this an inspiring place to work, not a messy storage locker. And it starts today by building an 11-drawer cabinet. So as you can see, I like to start my plywood breakdown on the floor, get everything with the track saw so it's more manageable on the table saw, and then I can cut everything to final width. But this cabinet is gonna be 6 feet wide. So after getting these pieces cut to width here, I'm gonna use the track saw again up on the table saw, of course with my insulation in place, and cut it to the final length. But if you don't have a track saw, you can also just use a straight edge and a right angle to make sure you can get those square cuts. I've got the cabinet size laid out here, and I'm gonna make an integrated toe kick with them. And so I'm gonna go ahead and lay that out and cut that with my jigsaw. I'm gonna use my combination square and a pencil for that. All right, here's something you want to avoid. Now, I just finished the cut that you just saw, and I looked down and I saw, oh, there's a little bit of pencil mark. And so I'll just quickly take that off with the jigsaw. Don't do that. If you have just a little bit left, do not try to hit it with a jigsaw because you're gonna screw it up, which is exactly what I just did. I had a nice little dip in here because it's very, very hard just to shave off a little bit with a jigsaw. Instead, get a chisel or something and shave it down, which is what I should have done. Now, it's not a huge mistake. I'm gonna make this the right panel, which is gonna be up against the wall. You'll never see this, and I'm just gonna try to do better on the next one. Mistakes were made. What can you do? Now I'm gonna make some pocket holes on the stretchers, then we can figure out how to get this big bad boy assembled. So these stretchers are going to attach the sides. I cut these two center supports, which are gonna help carry the load in the center of the cabinet, but I can use these to position the front stretcher. So anytime you can use relative reference and not have to measure, that's always a better way to go in my opinion. So using that same idea, I'm gonna use a couple spacers that I cut, and I'll attach the other one after I get it down onto the ground. Now I can use that other support on this end to again get the spacing. Then I'll attach all these, the support, and put it down on the ground and do the tops. Now the carcass is coming together, and carcass is a really weird word for a cabinet, but we'll go with it. And the cabinet is almost done, and I just need to add a couple more things to it, which will be the center dividers. But when you take those measurements, because you do it after assembly, make sure that you're taking it from the end here, because you know at the end, that's gonna be an accurate measurement between the top and the bottom. So if you take it in the middle, these flop around, so you might be off 1/8 of an inch or more, depending upon the bow and the flex of this top. So I'll get that, and we'll get these assembled. Now, I know this cabinet is not gonna have a 1/4 inch back or anything like that, and because there's drawers, you don't really need to cover it in the back. But to give it some extra rigidity and to add some mounting options to the wall, I'm gonna put in some cleats on there. Now, while I was doing the pocket holes to go into the top or the bottom, I accidentally started off on the wrong side. But if you can look through the rest of this build and find the pocket hole that I put in the wrong place, tell me where it is. Hashtag mistakes were made. I'm gonna give away free plans of this build for 5 people that I can find down below in the comment section on day 1 of the video release. Give a little reward to those folks that are hopping in early. Good luck. Oh, but if you don't win, you can obviously purchase the plans as well. We appreciate your support. So the cabinet is gonna be painted, but we have these plywood edges on the front and I wanna cover those up. So I'm gonna use some hardwood edge banding, and this is just 1/4 inch strips of poplar, and I'm gonna put this on the edges. It's gonna make it a lot easier to paint. Also, it's gonna be a lot more durable than just these plywood edges. So I'm going to show you how you can apply edge banding with no clamps and no air nailer. Now all you need is a roll of Scotch painter's tape, a sponsor of today's video, to get the job done. Now Scotch brand has a whole family of tapes that are designed specifically for your surface and job. I've been using them on a lot of the recent projects, and I keep a couple rolls of Scotch Blue original painter's tape in the shop as well. You probably saw me using it earlier when I was labeling my plywood parts that I was breaking down. I found this works a lot better than sticky notes actually. I was using those before, but the painter's tape stays put and it transfers better between parts. But another one of my favorite tips for painter's tape is using it to glue down solid wood edge banding like this. Now if you don't have an air nailer, or if you just don't want to fill all the nail holes when you're done, this is going to work like a charm. Now just glue down the trim and then tightly pull a strip of tape around it, securing it to the sides of the cabinet. You can put a piece of tape every 6 to 8 inches or more if you see any gaps. I'll have a link in the description for the Scotch Blue original painter's tape, and thanks to Scotch Painter's Tape for being a sponsor of this video. After the glue is dried up, you can just take off the tape and then clean up the edges with a block plane or a sander. I've got all the trim flushed up, and I went ahead and applied some putty to where the seams are, especially on the outside. I didn't worry as much about the inside because you're really not gonna see those. But all I'm gonna do now is sand those flush and have it ready for paint, or we'll see how that goes because the weather's getting kind of bad outside. All right, so the weather report is really bad. It's gonna be raining tomorrow, so I'm trying to get everything sprayed, but it is almost dark. I'm gonna see what I can do, but or maybe I have to bring the lights out here. But I hate spraying inside, so we'll try to get this done. Cat in the project though. Oh my gosh. So painting at night, it's doable, but there are definitely some spots that I missed. So painting in the daytime is way better. But that's okay because I'm gonna be moving on to the face frames next for the drawers. I'm making those out of solid poplar. I'm gonna do some milling to get those ready, and then I'm gonna be painting those, and it'll be nice because I don't have to treat any of the edges since it's solid wood, and I'll hit some touch up on this as I go. Let's get to milling. The cabinet's gonna have 11 total drawers, and they're gonna be this smaller size, 5 of them in the middle, and then the larger size, 3 on each side. So now all I need to do is cut these to size using the measurements from the cabinet to make sure they're spaced properly, and then I can go out, sand them down, and get them primed and painted. Now while I'm waiting for the paint to dry out there, now is a great time to start in on the drawers. And I've already cut the sides of the drawers down to size. Now there's gonna be 11 drawers in total, so that's a lot of different parts. So here's an example of a drawer that is not edge banded, and then here's an example of a drawer that is edge banded. Edge banding is great because it makes it look like solid wood to the untrained eye, and you don't have those exposed plies. Now I use the iron-on edge banding that has the gluing on the back, and I get it in big strips so that you can put right on. I've got an old iron that I got from Goodwill for about $3. So after I heat up the edge banding and the glue starts to melt, then I will use a couple scrap blocks to press it down and make sure that I get a good bond, and another one to move it around if it's off center at all. And then there's just 2 specialty tools that make it a lot easier. You could cut all the trim to size with a chisel. I like to use a little flush end trimmer on the end. It works great. And then a little double bevel trimmer that you can just put on each side and go down it. You can get all these tools, maybe not the old clothes iron, from Woodcraft, who's been an amazing sponsor of the channel. I'm gonna have links down below in the description to woodcraft.com where you can check them out. They have tons of woodworking supplies and tools and basically anything that you might need to do your woodworking projects. So go check them out, and a big thank you to Woodcraft for being an amazing sponsor of the channel. I got about 9 of these drawer parts done, a few more to go, and that's only a quarter of the total. So I need to rip the rest of these parts down, edge band them, plus finish up the second coats on the painting. But for you guys, it'll just be a few seconds worth of high speed. School bus? Yes. I've got all the drawer parts, all 44 of them here for 11 drawers, and I went ahead and pre-finished them, at least on the insides. So I did not finish the outside of the front or the back because those won't be seen, and I only finished one side of the sides, and I'll finish the outside and the bottom later. It's a lot easier to apply finish before you do the assembly, and I'm not gonna be gluing any of these edges. I'm gonna go ahead and start assembling these with pocket screws, and then we can put on the bottoms, and we'll be ready to put this all into the cabinet. One down, 11 to go. Math is hard. One down, 10 to go. I've got all the drawer boxes now, and none of them have bottoms on them. So the last part is to cut 1/4-inch panels, and I can just glue down that 1/4-inch bottom, secure it with some me nails, and we'll have a super strong drawer. Right now I can start mounting in the drawer slides, and I'm going to be using a pair of full extension drawer slides per drawer. And to mount these, I'm going to use some spacers that I've cut. I've already done all the measurements. Again, these are in the plans. If you're interested in the plans, link down below in the description so you'll know exactly where to mount them. But I use these different sets of spacers and then mount the slides up and then mount in the drawers afterwards. Now the fun part, installing the drawers, and it's really gonna start to come together. So to install them, I like to put in a quarter sheet of plywood at the bottom, and that spaces the bottom drawer off. Again, I've already got these all spaced, so I know exactly how they're gonna fall. And then I can put in the drawer on top of that, and that slides in there nicely. So I can attach them by just pulling this out, pre-drilling and screwing it along, and then I will take it fully out to attach the last screws on the back of the drawer and work my way through the cabinet. So to put on the solid drawer fronts, what I'm gonna need to do is position everything. And when you have this many drawers, that can be a challenge. On the bottom, I'm gonna take a scrap piece of wood that I've drilled a couple holes in, and I'm gonna put it underneath. And I don't have a strip to go the whole length, so I cut 2 strips and I'll attach both of them. Then I'll be able to rest the lower drawer fronts on there and line them up all the way across the bottom all at once. Now I can just drill some holes in these drawer boxes, lay out my drawers, space everything, get them attached, and then attach the handles. For the top, I gave in and I hit the easy button. I got a butcher block countertop that I'm gonna use on. It is almost the perfect size. So all I'm gonna have to do is cut it to length just a little bit and get a finish on it. This is just part 1 of the total office makeover, and today we're focusing on these 2 walls. The cabinet is gonna go right behind me here, and we're just gonna paint these walls today. So I'm gonna take down all this shelving. Susan's gonna help me out here. We're gonna prep and get it painted for install. Since this cabinet has so many drawers, you definitely want to make sure that you're attaching it to the wall. That's why I have the cleats on the top and the bottom. You want to go into studs because if you pull all the drawers out, it will tip over and you don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and get the drawers back in here. We're going to put the top on and give you the reveal. This is exactly what I wanted. I've got a spot for my 3D printer as well as storage for the filament, and I've got plenty of room to grow and add more. Plus I've got a lot of different drawers for different things like the puzzles I like to play with and can't really solve. And I have a lot of space to really organize this and make this what I want. If you want to build this cabinet, I've got plans available. There's a link down below in the description. If you want to see more videos about storage and organization, I've got a playlist queued up for you right there. I think you're going to love that one. I want to give a big thank you to all those folks that have been joining the Builders Club. And until next time, guys, get out there and build something awesome.